dripping in sauce. First I'm hitting the gas, then you get the exhaust. Told the world that I'm coming, I'm working to be a boss. It's consequence for them actions, I teach my sons that it costs. All this drama in my life is fucking with my conscience. Caught the little chain, they wonder how I got this. Swear these niggas lame, why they worried about my pockets. Tore out the frame, now she wanna keep me hostage. Better than ever, it's really no room for error. Play for keeps and never settle, no negotiate with the devil. I'm getting harder to measure, I give it all, cause I'm destined, I'm too involved and I'm ready. So through it all, I'ma get it. I know you care for me, but don't worry about me, just say a prayer for me. Cause we all going one day, so just prepare for it. And I'ma live to the fullest, so don't be scared for me. Just say a prayer for me, yeah.
Pray for me, if you love me, just pray for me. Pray for me, if you love me, just pray for me. Can you pray for me?
Something wrong, somebody pray for me. Psychic said it ain't safe for me. I pulled the car with 2 snakes on it, intertwined into an 8 or something. Bottom line, it was an ace on it. Pray for me. I seen a demon with a face on it. I don't look in the mirror now. I know them voices in my head from the spirit realm. I know it's people under the stairs and in the ceiling found. I feel my niggas in the air who ain't here around me. I know you possibly sincerely care about me, but I still ain't going nowhere without the ham on me. Just say a prayer for me. I know you care for me, but don't worry about me, just say a prayer for me. Cause we all going one day, so just prepare for it. And I'ma live to the fullest, so don't be scared for me. Just say a prayer for me, yeah.
Pray for me, if you love me, just pray for me. Pray for me, if you love me, just pray for me. Can you pray for me?
This episode of Just My 2 Cent Podcast is sponsored by the official IBelongApparel.com. Come to the official IBelongApparel.com for your Luxe sweatsuits, Luxe tracksuits, windbreakers, original sweatsuits, varsity sets, and bucket hats. When you stay true to yourself and your purpose, you always belong. The official IBelongApparel.com. Welcome back to another episode of Just My 2 Cent Podcast. I'm your host, the Immortal Scribe. Today we're going to be talking about artificial weather versus the Most High. So we're just going to get right into it. So the talk is the Earth's climate is changing. Storms are becoming superstorms and more volatile. The winters are warmer and the waters are rising and falling everywhere. Okay, well, are these changes the work of Mother Nature and the Most High, who created the weather cycles long before people thought to measure temperature, storms, and cloud movement? Or is this, quote, new weather, end quote, global warming being brought upon us as a result of high-frequency active oral research program, HARP, whose signal, and I quote, whose signal will be sent to the top of our atmosphere where it is intended to heat a portion of the sky, much like a microwave oven warms a frozen burrito. This type of transmitter is called an ionospheric heater. There are several ionospheric heaters in use around the world today, end quote. That comes from Jerry E. Smith's book, HARP, The Ultimate Weapon of the Conspiracy, page 16. Plus, there are also other not so popular, quote, weather machines, end quote, that are in active use right now, too. At first thought, I wondered what's the point in trying to control the weather if you're a natural being, child of light, sent to the earth cloaked in flesh. Think about that. What's wrong with sunshine and warmer temperatures all year long? I don't really like cold weather, snow, none of that. You know what I mean? I don't have a problem with it getting warmer. I don't have a problem with sunshine. I love it. Matter of fact, what's wrong with the good rainy season to help continue the life cycle of planting and growing real food? Melanin richness absorbs and utilizes the sun's photons in a productive and efficient manner. So Why would melanin-rich beings want or desire colder temperatures and cloudy gray days to be extended any further than they may already naturally occur or seasonably occur, like what we're used to, depending on what region of the earth or the world you live in? You might be used to cold weather, gray skies during, certain times of the year, winter or whatever, but we have to start thinking, do people actually control the weather, or is that just a part of the cycles that the Creator put in motion for this plane we call Earth? And why is it such a big deal? Because the Earth is heating up. Like, if you're a being of the sun, a melanin being, which all natural life is supposed to not have a problem with the sun, because the sun is what enhances life on this planet. Why would you have a problem with the temperatures rising? Are you unnatural, or are those beings unnatural? Just something to think about. So that's what we're going to be looking at here. Is the weather artificial, or is it just the Most High, and the cycle of the earth that we're in, where the weather is, quote unquote, intensifying? You know what I mean? Because some people still have this notion that, people control everything. They give people all this power. And we just got finished talking about in the first episode, that it's like unusual, it seems, for a lot of these people online to think that, people just can't pass away naturally. Like, death is not natural anymore. It's like it's got to be a part of a, some type of ritual or sacrifice. So, now we're gonna be looking at, is the weather really real, or is people or something else controlling the weather with this so-called global warming and climate changing and all of this. So stay tuned. Here's the book Heart by Jerry E. Smith, The Ultimate Weapon of the Conspiracy. And I just wanted to make sure people saw the actual hard copy of the book because, with the weather being the way that it is, there's no telling if we might have a coronal mass ejection and lose a lot of our electricity. People often mistaken CMEs for solar flares. They're not the same thing. CMEs are much more powerful. So yeah, go ahead and check out the book. Just My 2 Cent Podcast is also brought to you and sponsored by AmplifiedReach.com. Go to AmplifiedReach.com for affordable web design, web hosting, and marketing solutions. Amplified Reach is your trusted partner for affordable digital solutions. Elevate your digital presence today. AmplifiedReach.com. Amplify with a Y. Why? Because they're the best. AmplifiedReach.com. We're going to watch. It's said that it had took place like 8 years ago in Texas. The camera quality doesn't seem to be the best. You know what I'm saying? But it's supposed to be capturing when Hart was turned on and I guess aimed over the Texas area, somewhere in Texas. So let's check this out real quick. Supposed to be like circles and, making it turn red, from the heat, you know what I mean? Heating up the ionosphere.
And don't forget, contact Third Phase Moon if you've captured anything incredible. Submit it to us via Skype or Facebook. Because we're not alone. Keep your eyes on the skies. We'll see you again next
So we came to this website, pretty cool website, wanttoknow.info. They say Hart, weather control. Is the Hart Project a weather control weapon? Quote, it isn't just conspiracy theorists who are concerned about Hart. The European Union called the project a global concern and passed a resolution calling for information on its health and environmental risks. Despite those concerns, officials at HARP insist the project is nothing more sinister than a radio science research facility, end quote. And that was taken from a documentary on HARP, weather control capabilities by Canada's CBC. So it says HARP, what is it? HARP, High Frequency Active Oral Research Program, was a little known yet critically important U.S. military defense project which generated quite a bit of controversy over its alleged weather control capabilities and much more. The project was shuttered by the military in 2013 after large amounts of negative publicity, though HARP-like research undoubtedly continues in other secret projects. This essay reveals major deception promulgated by those involved to lead the public to believe HARP was simply a research facility with little practical military value. Though denied by HARP project officials, some respected researchers allege that the electromagnetic warfare capabilities of the project were designed to forward the U.S. military's stated goal of achieving, quote, full spectrum dominance, end quote, by the year 2020 and of, quote, owning the weather in 2025, end quote. I mean, this is 2023. We're approaching the bottom half of 2023. So basically, 2 years left before the so-called U.S. government owns the weather, as they are stating here. It says, see United States Air Force document summary here. Others go so far as to claim that HARP technologies have been and continue to be used for weather control to cause earthquakes, hurricanes, tsunamis, to disrupt global communication systems, and more. These researchers point to major aspects of the program which are still kept secret for alleged reasons of national security. The U.S. patent of a key developer of HARP and other documentary evidence support these claims, and there is no doubt that electromagnetic weapons capable of being used in warfare do exist. The HARP project's $300 million price tag also suggests more was going on than meets the eye. According to the original HARP website, quote, HARP is a scientific endeavor aimed at studying the properties and behavior of the ionosphere, with particular emphasis on being able to understand and use it to enhance communications and surveillance systems for both civilian and defense purposes, end quote. The ionosphere is the delicate upper layer of our atmosphere, which ranges from about 30 miles or 50 kilometers to 600 miles or 1,000 kilometers above the Earth's surface. I'm going to start reading right there. You can come check it out for yourself and read the rest if you're interested. But I wanted to look at this United States Air Force report on the weather modification. We're just going to look at a little bit of it because it seemed like they just, copied it and then, retyped it out here on their site. But it says United States Air Force report owning the weather in 2025. Quote, in 1957, talking about 57, long before I was born, the President's Advisory Committee on Weather Control explicitly recognized the military potential of weather modification, warning in their report that it could become a more important weapon than the atom bomb, end quote. This was taken from a U.S. Air Force report on weather modification published in 1996. And I'll just read, a couple paragraphs here. Dear friends, weather modification and use of the weather as a weapon had long been of prime interest to the United States Air Force. A 1996 report once available here on the USAF website is titled, quote, Weather as a Force Multiplier, Owning the Weather in 2025, end quote. The report was removed for their website in 2021. The report starts out stating, quote, the purpose of this paper is to outline a strategy for the use of a future weather modification system to achieve military objectives, end quote. The full report lists a wide variety of weather modification and weather weapon capabilities, as the report has disappeared from the USAF website. At the link above, you can find a copy. We downloaded available here. And then it just goes on to talk about where you can find more information about the HARP facility and stuff like that, as far as online and stuff like that. But I just thought it was interesting to get started looking at, the reality of, man, as they say, trying to mess with the weather, as well as trying to control it, which in my personal opinion, can't control it. You might can try to influence certain materials that are already in the atmosphere, but I don't think it's possible for quote unquote humans to control the weather. But I wanted to get my little opinion, my little 2 cents out the way on that, and we can look at some more here on another article. Give me 1 second. So we're still talking about what is HARP. So we're gonna go to this website. It says Gaia.com. It says in 1993 the U.S. Air Force began construction. But remember, they said in the other one that they started out in the 50s talking about it. Remember? Hold on. See, in the 50s, they started talking about it. They recognized the military's potential of weather modification. You see what I'm saying? But they started building it, as far as what they're saying now in this article, in 1993. And it cost, 290 million, so yeah, 300 million basically, that would enable the government's foremost atmospheric researchers to study the ionosphere, the top layer of the Earth's atmosphere. The research center, now run by the University of Alaska, Fairbanks, is called the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, or HARP, and is located in the frozen wilderness of Gakona, Alaska. For a number of reasons, HARP's activities have drawn the attention of citizens who are suspicious of the organization's practices. Over the years, HARP has been officially credited with conducting useful and successful research, but because of its highly complex work, officials claim its purpose has been largely misunderstood by detractors. For this reason, it has been ground zero for criticism since its inception. Situated in the remote wilderness of an already low population state, purportedly to promote secrecy, HARP features 360 radio transmitters, 180 antennas, and 5 powerful generators that create geometric patterns in every direction when turned on. The antennas, each a foot thick and stretching 72 feet into the sky, continue to raise eyebrows. And that's like a picture of what a part of it is supposed to look like. You know what I'm saying? And then in that first video we were just showing these antennas, with the software that's in one of these little buildings, you know what I'm saying, little control modules, you know what I'm saying, direct these beams, you know what I'm saying, into the atmosphere, atmosphere, ionosphere, you know what I'm saying, the thin part of the atmosphere, in whatever direction, you know what I'm saying, that they wanted to be pointed towards. And in the case of the video, it was somewhere over in Texas, and you could see the coloration of the sky turning red or darker, and it was like circles, you know what I mean? But let me continue on. It says, shortly after the facility opened, the public began reporting strange phenomena, not only in the region, but around the world. Activists challenged HARP's activities, vocally questioning what the organization was really up to. While the government continues to deny any connection with changes in weather frequencies or of earthquakes and chemtrails in the skies, it has made deliberate efforts to quell suspicions about the nature of its operations. Yet, these are not nearly enough to quiet HARP's notable detractors, including former Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez, who passed away, rest in peace, and former Minnesota Governor Jesse Ventura. Ventura questioned whether the government was using HARP to manipulate the weather or overwhelm citizens with mind-controlling radio waves. While the Air Force acknowledged that Ventura had made an official request to visit the research station, he and his crew nevertheless were denied access. So then, The article gets into, some more stuff about the weaponizing of the weather. We can read this, but it's also, HARP is also attributed to like mind control, sending frequencies, you know what I'm saying, through the air that mess with, certain people's system of thought, frames of thought, etc. You know what I mean? Could be reasons behind some of these mass shootings, the people who go out here and, just let off on people, seemingly randomly, you know what I mean? And, hurting innocent people. But we ain't gonna get into that part of it. I'll let you come and check out the article and read the book for yourself. But we're just reading this last 3 paragraphs. Weaponizing the weather. One of the most popular and far-reaching accusations against HARP is that the organization deliberately creates destruction on a global scale, causing earthquakes, cyclones, flooding, snowstorms, and other disasters around the world. Again, nowhere in there did I see anything about making it, making the weather hotter. You know what I'm saying? This is like snowstorms trying to keep stuff cold, and bringing water or precipitation. We're going to see in another video is what, the clouds are made out of. You feel me? So, again, I don't have a problem with it being hotter, you know what I'm saying, and the sun beaming. I'm cool with it. But anyway, critics of HARP assert that it has the capacity to send microwave radiation beneath the ground, strategically pinpointing fault lines, and that the size of HARP's fields of antennas have the potential for tremendous damage to the environment, as, unlike other ionosphere research centers across the world, only HARP has the ability to focus the energy from the field onto a specific spot in the atmosphere. That's what we was talking about with that first video that, they was allegedly pointing over Texas. And this HARP is supposed to be located in Alaska, so you aiming, roughly what, I know more than 1,000 miles. I know it's more than 1,000 miles to get from Alaska to Texas, close to it, if not close to 1,000. Anyway, one of the countless earthquakes claimed to have been linked to HARP was an Iran-Iraq earthquake that killed around 500 people in November of 2017. Despite tensions between those two nations and the United States, Iran's Deputy Interior Minister for Security and Law Enforcement, Mohammed Hussein Zulfikari, dismissed malintent, denying that such rumors had, quote, any scientific basis, end quote. Given the fact that branches of the United States government have openly discussed technologies used to interfere with the weather and cause earth changes, it is difficult to dismiss critics so quickly. In 2005, the Air Force stated, quote, weather modification will become a part of domestic and international security and could be done unilaterally. It could have offensive and defensive applications and even be used to for deterrence purposes, meaning to keep people in line, in other words. Anyway, the ability to generate precipitation, fog, and storms on Earth, or to modify space weather, and the production of artificial weather all are a part of an integrated set of technologies which can provide substantial increase in U.S. or degraded capability in an adversary to achieve global awareness, reach, and power, end quote. So, trying to use this machine, computer system that is connected to computer systems, to control the outcome of whatever it is they want to do. So, and we're going to go to the next video here shortly. 1 second. It's by Frontier Scientist channel, and it's called Heart Master. So they're going to talk a little bit more to the actual scientists and, people who worked or did time, studying at the Heart Research Center. So we're going to let this one play for a little while.
For a few minutes, and then you shut it off. And you watch the atmosphere repair itself. It does that in a few seconds. And you do a lot of experiments that way. Things you can't do in the laboratory.
The first time I visited HARP, I didn't even know what it was. I went to HARP as part of a physics club, the Society of Physics Students. I was a student here at the University of Alaska Fairbanks, and HARP at the time held an annual open house event where the public could tour the facility
miles out into space. That's a region where there's not much density. The air is very thin. Mostly plasma, which means electrons and ions.
When I saw this facility and saw how unique and interesting it was, is when I decided to do my PhD thesis research using the HARP facility. So HARP stands for the High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program.
The federal government spent about $300 million. It's the most exquisite of its kind in the world. It's currently owned and operated by the Air Force Research Lab. And they have other priorities. They've done some tests over the years. Now they want to go do other things. So it's become a bit of an orphan sitting down there in Kona. The U.S. has the lead in the world in this area. It'd be a shame to give that up. The other facilities aren't nearly as flexible or as powerful. And HARP can do science that the other two can't. There's a chart that shows it compared to all the heaters, including every sequence. You can see that it's quite a bit more powerful and more flexible.
It's an instrument that allows us to make small changes to the ionosphere, and then we can measure the response of the ionosphere and the upper atmosphere to the changes that HARP is making. Scientists have categorized the various layers of the atmosphere. Most of the weather that we experience occurs in the troposphere. When we fly in commercial aircraft, we're generally flying at the top of the troposphere. Above that is the stratosphere, and above that is the mesosphere, and above that is the thermosphere. And the ionosphere is basically part of the thermosphere, which extends from about 80 to 100 kilometers altitude all the way up to about 1,000 kilometers altitude. And so the ionosphere is generally what we refer to as the partially ionized portion of the thermosphere. It's too high for weather balloons, and it's too low for many satellites. And sure, we can launch rockets through the ionosphere too, as we do at Poker Flat, but those are very fast but expensive experiments. The reason why we care about the ionosphere, particularly for radio communication, is that radio waves, when traveling through free space, behave differently when they travel through a region of charged particles or plasma. The ionosphere is basically a partially ionized plasma, and so one of the things that can happen to radio waves that travel through plasma is that they can be bent, their polarization can change, they can be absorbed, and since so much of our lives is really dependent on radio communication, either communicating to satellites or for navigation with GPS, which is also communicating to satellites essentially, or over-the-horizon communication or over-the-horizon radar, it's really important for us to understand how radio waves are affected by the ionosphere, and in some cases how radio waves affect the ionosphere in the case of HARP or other powerful radio transmitters.
A lot of us realize how important it is, how powerful, how significant the facility is. So we're trying to figure out ways to keep it alive as an active scientific tool.
Why would it be beneficial? I can't speak for the applications, but it's a mystery to solve. We can think of the ionosphere as a natural plasma laboratory, the conditions of which are difficult to replicate in an actual physical laboratory. And so this is just another way of learning about the world around us.
Because if the Air Force shuts it down, by prior agreement, they're required to remediate it, which means they have to go back and turn the land back into the way it was before they started. They'll have to bulldoze the whole site away.
Okay, so, we just listened to the scientists and researchers that actually worked, at HARP, and, they are completely, as you see or and saw, fascinated, you know what I'm saying, by, the ability to, deal and what they say, change the ionosphere. So they already told you why they would want to do it, because they want to control it and modify weather. You understand what I'm saying? So the why has already been answered. So it's like, there's no need to ask why are they doing it. They are doing it to control or attempt to control, and they know they can't control. That's why they use the word modify the weather. So I thought that was pretty interesting to share. So, thank the people over at Frontier Scientists for sharing this video. And if you want to know more, there's their website. You can check it out for yourself. Ready for a snack? Head over to tastejpsalsa.com. When you get there, you can choose from black beans and corn, blueberries, peaches, honey with habanero, honey apple, or roasted garlic. Tastejpsalsa.com. Because I ain't sharing. If it's not JP's, you can keep it. So this next video, we're going to get into the weather modification with rain and cloud seeding. So check this out.
Sing about it and definitely complain about it. The weather. But have we come to the point where we can control the weather? Technically, that's still too good to be true, but the winds might be changing. Let's talk about cloud seeding.
She said,
It's
technically,
described
that's too
as
good
the
to be true.
enhancement of natural precipitation.
But
To explain how cloud seeding works, we
they
need to
think it's
first
gonna be
talk
changing.
about clouds.
Yeah, okay.
Clouds are a bunch of water droplets or ice crystals floating in the sky. The water droplets are too small to fall as precipitation, but they are large enough to form the clouds we see. In most parts of the world, these droplets are supercooled, meaning they're below freezing, but they remain liquid. Now, sometimes these droplets are just milling around, pushing past each other and not sticking together, kind of like a missed connection. Other times, these droplets bump into each other, like commuters on a train during a busy rush hour. The water vapors collide and stick to particles floating in the air. It could be dust, smoke particles, or even meteoric debris. Those are known as condensation nuclei.
So cloud seeding can produce what we want more or less of, more snow, more rain, or smaller hail pellets. This is done by introducing a seeding agent through pyrotechnic flares attached to an aircraft. Think Roman candles with emissions. A mission to deliver those condensation nuclei that encourage more collisions and group huddles by ice crystals
So this is
inside
how
the
they
cloud.
do it.
Common seeding agents used are dry ice, the solid form of carbon dioxide, silver iodide, or simple salts like sodium chloride. Seeding agents act as additional ice nuclei. In the case of silver iodide, its structure is very similar to ice, hexagonal, which is why experts think ice wants to bond to it. When silver iodide is used in a cloud, water droplets begin to give up water vapor and shrink. At the same time, the ice crystals already present in the cloud collect this moisture and grow.
They think ice
As
wants
ice
to
crystals
bond to
bang
it.
into
Think,
other
they
ice
don't know.
crystals, they become larger and heavier until they fall from the cloud. So why would we even want to do this? Who does it benefit?
In the wintertime, increase in snowfall is a very significant value add to organizations like hydropower
Exactly.
companies.
Idaho Power Company, for example, is interested in having more snowfall during the winter because this produces more runoff in the springtime for hydroelectricity. Wineries, such as ones in Mendoza, Argentina, have also used cloud seeding to protect their vineyards from damage through hail suppression. And lastly, insurance companies like ones in Alberta fund cloud seeding projects in order to lessen damage claims they receive. So how much does it cost? Well, the cost can vary. Hail is the most expensive. Rain projects less expensive, running $200,000 to $1 million a year, and that might produce an extra 1.5 to 4.5 meters of snow in the mountains, or an extra 50 to 125 millimeters of rain in the summer.
And you compare that to what is in the market price for water, or comparable technologies in creating more surface and groundwater, that is desalination, groundwater recharge, some of these, or even building dams and infrastructure, we're a fraction of that cost.
So now that we know how it works, here are some myths busted. Why don't they cloud seed to extinguish forest fires? Because you can't create rain with cloud seeding. You can only enhance clouds that are already present. Can cloud seeding resolve droughts? Not really, because all precipitation requires clouds. If it's already dry, there won't be enough moisture to rise in the air. No clouds, no extra moisture, no chance of enhancement. However, what can be done is to increase snow production and rainfall when there are clouds to work with. In other words, it needs to be preemptive. But does it work? In 2008, Beijing claimed that they made it rain early with cloud seeding to ensure blue skies with the Olympic opening ceremony. In contrast, the American Meteorological Society released a statement in 2010 saying there's still uncertainty whether current cloud seeding techniques actually work to achieve the desired changes in precipitation. According to the World Meteorological Organization, 52 countries have a weather modification program, and many of them continue to boost funding for such operations, all in an effort to perhaps one day control the weather.
They hope to control the weather, and then it's like, you knew it had to come down to some type of so-called money, You know what I'm saying? And it's just like the audacity to me to think that you can control what the creator put in motion. But we just watched one form of how they cloud seed. In the next video, we'll show you, how they do it from the ground.
One of the longest running cloud seeding operations in the country. We've got some ground-based cloud seeding equipment right here, and we're going to get to hear all about how it works and see it in action. Let's check it out. Cloud seeding is the most common type of weather modification, and it has many different techniques and applications. Today, it's mostly used to increase rain and snowfall, reduce the size of hail, and reduce fog at airports.
Traditionally, cloud seeding has been done from the air. So airplanes have had racks on them where these same flares are positioned on the airplane, and the airplane flies into the storm.
That's what they just
So in
got
order
finished
to
talking
reduce
about
the cost
in
of the
previous
client
video,
and reduce
the
our carbon
pyrotechnique.
footprint, we've been able to station these on the ground. Now, we can do this in places where weather permits.
Behind a barbed wire fence designed to keep away curious cattle, the cloud seeding gear awaits the right kind of weather.
So these are referred to as AHOGs. That stands for Automated High Output Ground Seeding Systems. We've got three primary components of our equipment here. The first is the control module that you see behind me. Then we have our actual cloud seeding flares. The cameras for security. It also helps us observe weather conditions in real time and make sure that all of the equipment is operating correctly during a storm. Inside these canisters are the flares with the seeding agents. The canisters are used as spark arresters, so they prevent sparks from reaching the ground. So we pull off the spark arrestor, you can see the flare inside. The ignition of the flares are controlled from the control module that's behind us. So the white triangle there is a cell service modem, and then the solar panel keeps us powered. Inside we have a battery and then a control board. So the control board interacts with the software. We're linked or synced with the software in Utah currently, and that allows us to fire or ignite any of the flares from that remote location.
Because of the lack of clouds and proper wind conditions, today is not a good day for cloud seeding at all. But Garrett and his team are going to light a flare for us anyway, so we can show you how it works. There's just one small problem. The battery in the control module died shortly before we arrived, but it's nothing a little jump start can't fix. After a little juice from Garrett's truck, it's time to set off the flare.
The primary seeding agent in this is silver iodide. Silver iodide is a simple compound. It's polar in nature like water, so there's chemical properties that help attract water molecules to silver iodide. It's also structured molecularly similar to ice, so it helps generate or helps spawn the generation of ice buildup, and then that becomes a hailstone or a snowflake that falls here primarily as rain. So one flare like this has billions and billions of potential sites for that water to congregate around. We'll launch them in sequences. We watch the radar to see when bands of the highest concentration of liquid water are passing above us in the clouds, and we try to target those high concentration pockets in the storm systems. We'll launch between 3 and 20 flares for a typical storm. Once the flare is lit, it takes a little bit of time to carry up into the clouds, and once it's up at the proper elevation, it'll take about 20 minutes to instigate the rain or the snow process. So overall, you're probably looking at about 40 to 45 minutes before you're seeing the maximum result. And that's why we're stationed miles away from our target area. So we have very specific targets that drain directly into major water basins.
It's all planned and mapped out
to correlate with rain above those intended targets. One of the biggest questions or most common questions that we receive relates to the safety of silver iodide. Silver is biologically inert, so it will not interact in a negative fashion with plant or animal life. Iodine is actually a critical building block of a number of hormones in animals, so it is safe as well. In fact, if you look at table salt or baby formula, you'll see iodine in its molecular form as an additive in those commonly
But is there such thing called iodine poisoning?
But what about other potential adverse effects? Could cloud seeding affect communities
be so
outside
casual
the
with
targeted
some
areas?
stuff that trip me out.
Sometimes there is a concern about robbing Peter to pay Paul. So are we benefiting California at the expense of Nevada? And the truth is that storm systems, when they move over off the coastline, only about 10% of that moisture is going to fall in the form of precip. And we're looking at increasing that to about 11% because we have about a 10% increase in the natural storm's productivity. So going from 10% to 11% in California has an insignificant impact on the amount of precip that will still be available in Nevada or Utah.
Built into the program are kind of checks to make sure that we don't come across anything negative. When there are high-intensity storms, we won't seed. If the reservoirs are full, we won't seed. If the rivers are flowing a lot, maybe near flood capacity, we won't seed.
We hope that the conditions that exist right now will turn around and that we will not face the severity of droughts that we're facing, particularly this year. But a number of scientific articles are suggesting otherwise. And as we look into the future, we need to again consider conservation first. So the ability for us is to conserve how we use water and the ways that we store the water. And then layer on that efforts like weather modification and cloud seeding to help increase the rainfall that we do receive. It's very important that we take advantage of every opportunity we have to generate water in a sustainable way.
Anybody who's interested in learning more about cloud seeding, I've got links to scientific studies and official reports down in the description. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more. If you want to see more What the Future episodes, check out this playlist right here. Hope this video seeded your imagination. Conserve water. See you next time.
You know, so you saw the video and everything. Again, like, I don't think that it's possible for them to control weather, but modify it. I do think they can modify it with these weather modification techniques that they use through the through the airplanes with the pyrotechniques and the silver iodine, the dry ice, mixtures and stuff like that. But I think they influence, like they were showing, because they target certain areas, and hopefully that it brings moisture or water or rain. But I know it's been times where I've seen snow that doesn't even look like real snow. It looks like something you would find like inside packaging when somebody ships something to you. It's like little circles, like little balls, not even hailstones, like little small balls, and it's like snowing, but it doesn't even seem like it's real snow. So how do we know that these mixtures, if these are the actual mixtures that they are using to mess with the weather? Because they don't tell us everything. And then how do we know that too much of this influence with these mixtures, with the silver iodide, dry ice, etc., how that affects droughts and stuff like that? It might even contribute to creating more dryness in the atmosphere, or once it hits the earth or whatever, like, because they still studying this stuff. They don't really know, and that's the thing. Like, people get cocky and start thinking that because what they want to do might have some signs of success over a certain period of time. They don't stop to think about in the future, and how the earth could be affected for real by them trying to correct or help the earth. You know what I'm saying? So what are your thoughts on this? I'd like to hear, I'd like to see, we would like to see, your comments and what you think about, weather modification or, HARP, versus the Most High and Mother Nature in terms of the weather. It's just my 2 cents. Now, as a bonus, I wanted to add these articles about blotting out the sun and blocking out the sun, that, efforts are already underway to do that. And so it's like, again, my question comes back to where it's like, what natural being wants to block out the energy source, one of the energy sources that helps create and maintain life? I mean, I don't have a problem with the sun. Do you have a problem with the sun? I guess you can, leave it in the comments. You know what I'm saying? Because something going on, as we can see. You know what I mean? But, people can't control the weather. You know what I'm saying? These beings can try to modify or influence it. But for what reason? what's the reason? Because it's not global warming. You know, that's just an excuse to me. Because I don't know any melanin rich people who have a problem with the sun and sunlight and warmth. You know, personally, I don't like cold weather. I don't know that many people that actually do. It's just some things that we have to deal with. You know, if you're from or you were born and raised or you're located in an area that gets like cold or harsh winters, stuff like that. I don't have a problem with, you know, rain and stuff like that because we need rain to help the crops grow. However, you know, the seeding modification that they were talking about in the videos and stuff, I mean, you know, I'm kind of iffy about that because I don't know if too much of anything can be bad, you know, with the iodine and the mixtures that they make and they put into the pyrotechniques. But like this issue of blotting out the sun, which they're actively trying to do, that's something else, y'all. Just my 2 cents.
Apparently, somebody in this neighborhood did something to anger Mother Nature. That's why you leave her alone. Look at this. Oh my God.